Hello students. In this video we're going to be looking at objective number 17 called linear regression. And this this objective uses the calculator a lot. So you need to have a calculator on hand in order to watch this video and get something out of it. So let's look at the first problem. We are asked to write an equation that relates the x and y values in the table to the right. So we have a table here, and the table is not organized in a way that makes it easy to see what the rate of change is, okay, to see what the slope is, and to see what the y-intercept is. And we learned how to write the equation that relates the x and the y values from tables that are written kind of like this, 0, 1, 2, 3, and then whatever, 7, 10, 13, 16. It's easy, right? Because the numbers go up by 3 each time. So 3 times x plus the y-intercept is 7, because when x is 0, y is 7. So that is what we learned to do a while back. But this table is not organized in that way, okay? So what I wanted you to do is to use your calculator, okay? So we're going to plug this table into our calculator and then use it to do all the hard work for us. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Doc, File, New. No, we're not going to save. Then we're going to add a list in spreadsheet. And then we're going to type in this table. Now you need to have labels up the top, so x and then y. Okay, so you're doing this with me on your own calculator. Then type in the x values, 3, -2, 5, and 1. And then the y values are -7, 3, -11, and -3. Okay, so there's our table. Now let's make a quick graph. So we're going to go to Menu. Now you have to move the little black box inside of the table for this to work. Once you do that, go to Menu, Data, then Quick Graph, Enter. Okay. Now remember that the calculator wants to put y down here for some silly reason, but what we want to have is x down here and y up here. So we're going to use our cursor, come down here, tap, change that to x. Then over here, click, make that into y. There we go. So you can see our points lie up on a line. Now let's find the equation of that line. Okay. So we're going to go to Menu, Analyze, Regression. Remember that the title of this objective is linear regression. Enter, and then show linear, mx plus b. Hit that. There you go. There's the equation of the line right there. Click and wiggle, drag it over so it's easy to see. So the equation of the line is, I'm going to bring it over here a little bit more. The equation is y equals -2x plus a -1. Or, the simplest way to write that is -2x minus 1. Okay? So that equation will relate all of these values. And if you don't believe me, say plug in 3. So -2 times 3 is -6, minus 1 is -7. So it gives the first value, and you can check them with the rest of them. Okay? So that is the equation that relates these two. Now let's do number 19. We are asked to graph the data shown in the table below, over here, and then draw an approximate trend line through the points. And then we are asked if the data shows a positive, negative, or no correlation. So let us graph these points. So 2, 36, right about here, 3, 62. Now these data points represent the tips that a waiter will earn after a certain amount of time that they've been working. So over 6, up 120, over 8 up 148 over 9 up 165, right about here. Okay, so we have our points, and we can draw an approximate trend line, kind of going through here, something like that. Now, because the trend line has a positive slope, that means that the correlation is positive. Positive correlation. Okay? Now, letting x represent the number of hours worked, and y represents the dollar amount of tips, use your calculator to find the equation of the regression line for this data. Okay? So we're going to do the same exact thing that we did with the previous problem. So I'm going to go to Doc, File, New, No, and you're doing this with me, of course. We're going to add another list and spreadsheet. Up here, we're going to make that x. That's going to be y. So over here, we're going to type in the x data, which is the first row. So 2, 3, 6, 8, 9. Then we're going to type in the y values, which are the tips. So $36, $62, $120, $148, and then $165. Then we're going to make this box come into the table, and we're going to go to Menu, Data, Quick Graph. Okay, again, we need to have x down here, and we need to have y up here. There we go. You can see that this data looks very similar to what we drew over here. Now we're going to find the equation line that best fits these points. So we're going to go to Menu, Analyze, Regression, and then Show Linear. Bada bing, there it is. So let me bring this up here so it's a little bit easier to see. Okay, and that is the equation. Y equals about 18.1 times x plus 4.8. Okay, so that is the equation. Now, using this equation, we need to predict the dollar amount of tips earned if the waiter worked for 5 hours. So we're not told how much the waiter actually worked when they, how much they earned when they worked 5 hours, but we can use this equation to find that out. All we have to do is put in 5 for x. So y equals 18.1 times 5 plus 4.8. And then we can do that in our calculator real quick. So to go back to the calculator, I'm just going to press on that button to go to our scratch pad. 18.1 times 5 plus 4.8 equals 95.3. Okay? So if the waiter works for 5 hours, they can expect to make about $95.30 in tips. Okay? Now, the final question, using the equation you found above, predict how many hours the waiter must work in order to make $300. Okay? So using the same equation again, I'm just going to write it out. Y equals 18.1 times x plus 4.8. Now, in this case, we are given a y value, 300. And then we need to calculate what x is. So plug in 300 for y this time, equals 18.1 times x plus 4.8. Now, let's solve this equation for x to find how many hours the waiter is going to have to work in order to make that amount of money. So to solve this equation, we're going to subtract 4.8 first. So 300 minus 4.8 is 295.2. It's equal to 18.1 times x. And then the final step is to divide both sides by 18.1. So we get 16.3. Okay? So x is equal to 16.3 when y is equal to 300. So the waiter will need to work about 16.3 hours in order to make $300. Okay? So this objective was not too bad, but it did require some knowledge of how to work the calculator.